Hello and welcome to News Trash here on the Geek Show, the weekly episode or the weekly podcast or the weekly series, whatever you want to call it, or wherever you're listening, where we talk about news or trash news, whichever way you want to phrase it. I am Rob, and I'm joined as ever by the newsreader of the hour, Rob as well.
Hello. Yeah, we're obviously not related.
I'm going to
Come on.
completely swerve that. I'm not cutting it out because it's just making more work for me. But what I really like about these videos is each video, we're in lockdown now, and each video I get more and more dishevelled looking. My hair gets more wacky, and there's nothing I can do with it because my hair is basically a sentient being,
Yeah,
and he wears a hat.
I wear a hat to cover up my dishevelment. I'm seriously covering up. Why do you think I hide half my face with a microphone?
Yeah.
This side of my beard is particularly scraggly today.
Yeah, well, this is my sixth COVID beard. We'll see how far this one gets. It's one of those, like, they used to do with those series where they take a picture a day.
Yeah.
It's like that, but a video a week. Just see how it comes along.
Yeah, I mean, you could end up with a magnificent full, Jeff Bridges, is it? From, was it Jeff Bridges in? No, it wasn't. It was, what's his face? Who was in the thing with that magnificent
Russell is my beard
Kurt Russell?
idol
Yeah.
and mustache idol because he has a magnificent mustache in The Hateful Eight.
Although Jeff Bridges, it was in True Grit, the remake.
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, he had a magnificent beard in True Grit.
Yeah, but Kurt Russell's my beard idol. Every man has a beard idol. It's just the way it is. So, with that out the way, that totally relevant discussion that we just had out the way,
Yes.
let's talk about video games, shall we? But
Yeah.
before we do though, just saying that yeah, our main driver of YouTube video game content was Impossible Mission, and that's been gone probably longer than we'd like it to have been. But now, we were saying in the last year, in the before times, that Impossible Mission was going to go on camera. Well, honestly, there's no real point of that when this has sort of taken that responsibility.
Yeah.
So Impossible Mission will be coming back quite soon, and it'll be in the old format. So please do look forward to that. But yeah, enough chit chatter, enough hoo ha, enough willy nilly, enough whatever synonyms. Let's just jump into it, shall we?
Yeah. Quick update on a story from last week. We said that the law firm Chemical, Schwartz, Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith LLP might file a class action lawsuit against Sony for the DualSense Drift on the controller. And they've gone ahead and done it.
On whose behalf? That's what I want to know.
See, this is the thing. They haven't actually mentioned... the plaintiff is Lunark Turner and similarly situated consumers. Whatever that means. And, yeah, it's... The lawsuit is... it argues that the DualSense controller is defective as it suffers from a drift defect, a problem that sees it recording input even when the player is not using it, and that the issue compromises the DualSense controller's core functionality. It's pointed out also that repair options at this stage are slim, and also accused Sony of failing to disclose this material information to consumers despite being aware of the defect. Now, that's the bit that kind of makes me think, hang on, Sony were aware of this but didn't tell anyone.
That's not true. Well, there might have been to an extent, but not,
Yeah.
It's the sort of we've said it before, but it's early consumer beware. These are the sort of level of testing which just aren't possible in house. So
Yeah.
issues arise. I mean, when the Xbox 360 when Microsoft were developing the Xbox 360, do you think they had any inclination of how big of a problem the Red Ring of Death was going to be?
No.
No, don't be silly. Of course they didn't. These things only appear when they've got millions upon millions of units and millions upon millions of houses testing these things at a varying degree of, a varying degree of hammering it.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I would be. I'm curious to know, and I'm sure that Sony have very good lawyers, and they'll probably ask this question as well as part of the as part of this whole legal proceeding. Um, they'll probably ask, how many hours a day were you using it for?
Also, this is a thing that can be improved by a
Hmm.
software updates. Also,
Yeah.
this makes me think that the person who who instigated this legal case, is very, very young, and it's their first console launch where they actually paid for it.
Possibly, I'm not sure. The lawsuit states, as a result of Sony's unfair, deceptive, and/or fraudulent business practices, owners of DualSense controllers, including plaintiff, have suffered an ascertainable loss, injury in fact, and otherwise have been harmed by Sony's conduct. Accordingly, plaintiff brings this action to redress Sony's violations of state consumer fraud statutes, breach of warranty, and unjust enrichment. Plaintiff seeks monetary relief for damages suffered, declaratory relief, and public injunctive relief. Bloody hell, legal language is hard.
What was the name of
Right.
the lawyer?
The lawyer, right? The lawyer is Chimicles, Schwartz, Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith. And
So one of the former partners was Lionel Hutz, but he got sort of disbarred. Because that sounds like the level of legal practice that this company is set at.
see, this is the thing. I said it last time. Chimicles sounds like a Pokemon or something like that.
Okay.
Chimicles, I choose you.
It's like a rock monkey, like a monkey which has got like a rock-like type skin. It's called Chimicles.
Yeah. And his special attack is Chimikick.
Yeah. Honestly, we're not going to win anything.
I mean, this is one of those things where, right, the interesting thing about this, right, is that I think Microsoft had a similar issue, and they asked a U.S. District Court judge to force the plaintiff in the lawsuit over the defective Xbox controllers to go to individual arbitration rather than proceeding through the court. And that's, since that precedent has been set, that might be something that happens with this lawsuit as well.
Only in America.
Yeah. I mean,
This is kind of like this is prime rib satire for the idea that all Americans know how to do is sue each other.
Well, that's where Britain got its blame and claim legal advertisements from. I hated those advertisements where there's somebody falls over and then you have these suited lawyers help them up and they walk them to the door in some creepy X-Files type manner, like they're going to kidnap them, and you see the person holding their arm even though there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being xenophobic in making that comment. Around the world, there's the stereotype, there's the belief, there's the idea that Americans just sue everybody. It's a stereotype that was perpetuated by the Americans, so it's not our fault that we're picking up on this. We're just making an observation.
We saw it in so many things, from the TV shows that they were exporting to the rest of the world, where you had people basically suing each other, to news articles where people were basically threatening to sue each other.
Yeah, it's just not really done anywhere else in the world.
No, in most of the rest of the world, people just hit each other and be done with it.
Right, moving on.
True.
Okay, next story.
True.
Yeah.
The next story, and if we were living in a world where people hit each other rather than litigating against each other, this is the fight I'd want to see. In fact, I want a cage match: Epic versus Apple.
Do we have to talk about this one?
Well, it's, again, more of an update on what's going on. Epic have basically expanded their antitrust complaint against Apple by introducing their antitrust complaint to the European Union, and they've already launched legal challenges in the US, Australia, and the UK, and now they've included the European Union. One of the big differences between the EU complaint and the rest of the world is that they're not actually asking for money in this one. They're basically just asking for Apple to stop its what was the wording they used?
Basically, the percentage that they take of every sale.
Well, what they're saying is they don't want money for the EU one. They just want Apple to stop its behavior by of stopping other application platforms or preventing other developers from putting apps on their platform for spurious reasons. So, okay, yeah, fine. You don't want money, but the rest of them, they do want money. To which Apple's responded in a very strange way. See, Apple have basically gone to Valve.
Okay.
Yeah, Apple are pulling Valve into this. They've basically gone to Valve and said that we want documents from you, and it refers to a subpoena from last November that they sent to Valve, wanting information about Steam, about sales records going back 6 years, and yada yada yada, and all sorts of stuff that Valve just isn't willing to give up. And Valve have already volunteered some information to Apple, but now what Apple is saying is that's not enough. We want all of this information. And Valve is saying, well, hang on. Some of the information you want, number one, isn't relevant to your case, and number two, is secret to our organization, and we won't impart that information to you.
You ever get the feeling that a company gets so big, they stop being a company and they start becoming a secretive cult?
Yeah, because
all three of these parties are basically went past that level of being, we are a secretive cult.
Yeah, because Valve have basically said somehow in a dispute over mobile apps, a maker of PC games that does not compete in the mobile market or sell apps is being portrayed as a key figure. It's not.
It's a slow news week, isn't it?
Apple have already got information like this about app sales and stuff from Google and Samsung, who compete in the mobile app market, right? They've got their own app, they've got their own app stores, everything like that. So that's fine. But Valve only has Steam, which deals with PC. Specifically
and PC. Valve's competitor is Epic. So yeah, there's a degree of crossover, but on a completely different platform with a completely different set of software on a completely different financial level.
That Apple has no involvement in the first place.
No.
So that's why I'm confused as to why. I mean, I can kind of get why they've done that, because they want to show that Epic is making money from the PC in the first place, and yada yada yada. But
it's just what this all comes down to. What this all comes down to is the fact that Apple are basically a dragon in a cave of all of the gold, wanting more gold. They're $1 trillion company, one of the first $1 trillion tech companies, beating they reached that milestone before Amazon and before Google, I think, and they still want more money. The greed of that company is staggering.
Yeah, and I at the end of the day, it's
capitalism.
Yeah, I just it kind of makes me depressed at how, you know, I can just imagine Valve just standing around just loving the fact that Epic are being kind of mired in this legal argy-bargy with Apple, just standing there with the popcorn going, hey, this is a good fight, isn't it? And then all of a sudden Apple just notices them off to the side, goes, here, we want some stuff off you. They're like, what? We got nothing to do with this.
Take a bit of a serious turn. Well, not serious, but Apple are basically the Vince McMahon of the tech world. And Vince McMahon, if you don't know, is the owner of WWE. And it's not meant as a joke, because basically last year, Vince McMahon laid off 40% of all of the staff of WWE so he could retain his profit margins. And not only was he retaining profit margins, it was WWE's most profitable year of all time. And sometimes with Apple's behavior, they are totally Vince McMahon.
Yeah. Oh.
Hopefully the managing director has the same swagger walk as Vince McMahon does as well.
What's his name? Tim, what's his face? Who runs Apple now? Tim Cook. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm just imagining him on stage, and now I'm imagining Vince McMahon next to him. And one of them is like massive, and the other one's basically a stick.
The other one's a 70-year-old man as well.
Yeah.
Well, plus 70, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next story.
So,
There's not really much to say about that other than what has been said already.
I mean, it's one of those weeks where not a lot has been happening, but EA did finalise their acquisition of Codemasters and have stated that they're going to revolutionise racing games. Yeah, we've heard that statement from them before when they said they were going to revolutionise football games and basketball games and Star Wars games.
So basically what they mean is they're going to stuff it full of microtransactions. There's a revolution. Not a revolutions are good revolutions.
Exactly. And I think that's an important point you make there. I'm hesitant about how they're going to revolutionize racing games. I know that Forza has been kicking some serious backside in racing circles.
Yeah, it has.
But and Codemasters have got things like F1, Project Cars, Grid, Dirt, World Rally Championship, and a whole lot more. Whereas EA only have Need for Speed, Real Racing, and Burnout. And Burnout, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much a dead franchise.
Yeah. The only thing I don't think Codemasters they're very profitable, but they're just consistent rather than very successful.
Yeah.
So they'll constantly turn a profit, but they won't make a lot of money. So really, that's kind of a studio which can only reach so far because basically racing games aren't mainstream anymore.
No.
And the only sort of level of company that could make them mainstream again is something the likes of EA.
Yeah.
But in becoming mainstream, what is being sacrificed?
Yeah. Because I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the Need for Speed franchise.
It's got moments. I quite liked Hot Pursuit 2 back in the day.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Burnout, I've always been a fan of Burnout. But again, when they did Burnout Paradise, they really dropped the ball with that.
Yeah, I don't like the open world of it.
The remastered version of Burnout Paradise was all right, but Forza basically cracked what Burnout were trying to achieve with the open world.
Yeah, I mean, it's the inner city is kind of dull.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Forza basically cracked it by just saying, okay, you can go pretty much anywhere, off-road, on-road, wherever you want to go, just go. But I don't even know anything about real racing.
Yeah, I don't either. Honestly, if this, I don't know how EA is going to do it. I don't trust EA at all to do anything. I'm amazed they made a few good Star Wars games before that license went out to open tender. Honestly, genuinely amazed that they were half as good as they were. But at the same time, EA still has the stigma as one of the most money grabbing, selfish organizations in the video game industry.
Yeah, I'm okay. See, this is the sad thing, right? EA did Battlefront 1 and 2, right? The remakes of Battlefront 1 and 2. And Battlefront 2 is a really good game. Ruined by microtransactions. Horribly ruined by microtransactions. But when you go back and play it now, it actually holds up really well as a game.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing.
Yeah, I mean,
some of the games that they put out.
That's what I hope. Because honestly, it's been far too long that the racing game has been out of the limelight of the video game industry. And the reason why I think that's an issue is because honestly, it's been the era of the third-person action adventure with RPG elements, and the mainstream could do with shaking up a little bit. It could do with being a bit more than just those action adventure games, or massively multiplayer online or free-to-play games. There's no in between in the mainstream. So if the massive EA can help racing games get to the top of the ladder again, I'm all for that. However, at the same time, it's how they do that I'm not so happy or eager to find out more about.
I have an idea, and I don't know whether this is what's going to happen, but I suspect, aside from the F1 franchise, which I know that EA have desperately wanted to get their hands on, because
also, before you go any further,
that license,
they need more arcade races. Yep. That's all. They need more arcade races.
That's actually, weirdly enough, that's actually where I was going to go next.
Okay.
That's actually where I was going to go next, right? Because I know that they've desperately wanted to get their hands on the F1 license because there is a lot of money there. Okay, but Codemasters did a really interesting concept of a game, of a racing game. And obviously there's the rally games and dirt. There's those licenses are big licenses in racing. But Codemasters put out Grid, right? And Grid is, I think, the one that EA would probably look at with the most potential. And I honestly think it does have the most potential in terms of making racing games popular again. Because as much as I like the rally games, as much as I like Dirt.
You know how Dirt sort of passes me? What my perception of that series is. The racing's fine, racing's perfect, I'm not going to dispute that. But its aesthetic presentation makes me think of an uncle which is trying to be cool with his teenage nephew and niece. And he's doing all slang, and he comes wearing baggy pants, and he says like words that are completely out of the modern vernacular, and it just feels so weird and out of touch whilst also being in touch.
That's why I bring up Grid.
No, that's what I think of Grid.
We were talking about arcade. See, this is the thing. Did you play the latest Grid?
I haven't had the chance yet.
Okay. Was it the first Grid or the second Grid that you played?
It's not important. It's just my perception of it as a series.
Okay. See, this is the thing. I honestly think that the base concept of Grid is actually the one with the most potential, because as you were talking about wanting more arcade races, Grid is more of an arcade racer. It's not as technical and simulation based as the other racing games that Codemasters put out. And part of the reason for that was the fact that you basically had different racing styles. It wasn't like the F1 based thing. What I love about Grid is the fact that you basically have 2 laps, and you have to get into the top 3 within those 2 laps. You don't have to go round and round the circuit repeatedly for like 60, 70 laps or however long a race actually is going to last. You got 2 laps, that's it. And you basically have this virtual YouTube type feed where you basically gain fans from putting videos out about your races and stuff like that. And the more fans you have, the more money you make, the more cars you can get, the more parts you can get. You can improve that way. And I think that that's a great idea that is just looking for a bigger platform to showcase itself on. And I think that if EA and Codemasters are going to work on anything and push it forward, it's going to be Grid.
Maybe. We'll see.
Because the thing is, Grid had drift racing, it had technical racing, it had rally, it had all of them in one game.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was, prove you're the best racer. So anyway, obviously you can tell I'm a fan of Grid. So moving on.
The Patreon bit. The Patreon bit. Let's not jump the gun, mister. I'll keep it brief this week. If you head over to www.patreon.com/The Geek Show, there's 2 tiers. On tier 1 is Director's Lottery, exclusive podcast in which we've penned it the Random Choice Movie Podcast. Big list of directors. We pick a number, and whatever director that responds to, we do them, and we pick a bigger movie and a smaller movie. Most recent episode, just released a few days ago, was John Waters. At the £3 or $3 tier is the extra episode of Pop Screen, a podcast which Graham does of a series of rotating guests in which he looks at movies with pop stars in any sort of level of their creation. And yeah, that's it. If you want to support the Geek Show, there are the means that you can pick right now, but we are in a state of developing what the Patreon is and what it can be in the near future. So check that out if that interests you or you like what we do.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of bits about conferences this year. GDC have dropped their plans for in-person conferences for this year. But the big thing is that E3 is the big one that everyone's talking about, and it's been stated that if E3 don't work out how to do a conference, then someone else is going to.
Well, I don't think it's even as basic as that. I think they already have figured out how to do it. I think 2020 was the year which killed the idea of needing to have a conference in a specific city and get all the press there for one weekend. Those events weren't for the industry. They weren't for the people involved in watching these things. All they're basically served at this point of the day is a big meet-up for all the journalists to have a big boozy weekend. Because honestly, most of the people who interacted with them did so online.
Yeah, exactly.
And 2020 was the year in which events promoting content for new games went online, and honestly, people preferred it because it made it more accessible, and you weren't just bamboozled. You could sort of dip your toe in and find out things every now and again. And E3 saying they're going to do it digitally this year. I think honestly they're going to struggle because all of these companies set up their own thing and they're happy doing their own thing, and their own thing was successful. So if they can do it on their own, why in the hell should they pay the money that ESA demands to do it with them?
Well, I mean, Nintendo did a Nintendo Direct in the last few days, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
That had a lot of people watching that.
They were the first one to sort of jump out ship.
Yeah.
And I think Sony was kind of the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
And COVID was basically all the rest of the nails in the coffin. So the idea of a big event like that is basically gone the way of the dinosaurs. I think in the future, honestly, any events like that are basically 100% consumer geared. So EGX or PAX or stuff like this, where you can just go somewhere and have a go at a game that we've been talked about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, GDC.
I talked for a long time there. Sorry.
GDC is the one that I'm kind of not surprised by, because that's like the main developers conference, and so even though it gets a lot of press, a lot of the people who tend to attend GDC are people who work in video games rather than just being consumers of video games. So that not being in person, okay, yeah, we understand the reasons why, but I mean, it's gonna be weird it being kind of online stuff, because Steam have started doing their Steam have been doing their virtual what was it, virtual festival conference,
Steam
whatever
Festival.
you want
But
to
at the
call
end
it.
of the day, that's what it all comes down to, isn't it?
Yeah,
99% of the people who are engaged in these events do it online. So what really
yeah,
changes by them all going 100% online? Nothing for
yeah,
most people.
yeah. I mean, it saves on travel costs for one thing. Saves on hotel costs. Saves you a lot of money, actually.
And they don't have to like pull together a trailer last minute
Yeah.
and pay hundreds of thousands of pounds because apparently that's what it costs to get like a standard E3.
You know, when you start putting numbers on it, you save a lot of money by not going.
It's incredibly old fashioned. I think honestly, E3 as it was is dead.
Yeah,
If E3 is going to come back again, it's going to be a 100% consumer based thing, and that's it. That's
yeah,
all it can be now. I think 2020 put to bed the idea of that style of event.
yeah. Ah,
I know that wasn't the story, and I kind of hijacked it and put it in my way, but I just something I wanted to say.
no, that was the story.
Oh well, I did good then. I did good.
That was basically the story. COVID has basically changed the world, and this is another way. This is another way it's been changed. Um, it's not going to go back to the old way of doing things. It's too late. That ship sailed. Moving on to a bit of a warning for people here. Ubisoft have basically put out a statement, or rather, not so much Ubisoft, but a YouTuber called the Rad Brad. He put out tweets saying, "Just a heads up to all content creators, there is an email from the official Ubisoft address going around that claims beta access to Far Cry 6. It even has an embargo with a special password for access." According to the YouTuber, clicking the invite's accompanying link will install a virus that watches your screen and records everything you do. Ubisoft's support feed confirmed the fake beta invites were a phishing attempt, warning recipients, please do not respond if you have received this email or similar. So,
Okay.
phishing scams have started hitting gamers now in a big way. I mean, beta access to something like Far Cry 6 is going to get people clicking.
Yeah, it is.
So they're getting smarter. So be warned.
I haven't really got anything to add to that. It's not a conversation. It's just you
No,
basically saying something.
it's a public service announcement.
Okay.
So that's it. Yeah, that's all we have for this week.
Is that it, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
in a
That's
slow
that,
week.
that's pretty short. Is there anything you want to talk about at the end?
Well,
Anything you want to just discuss or just end the show a little bit more like it actually ends rather than that's the end. Oh bloody hell! That took me by surprise.
because the problem is that because we've already agreed that we're not really going to talk about people doing their jobs because we don't really class that as news. So even though you got people like the what's his face who set up that new studio and is going to be working on another horror game. We don't need to go into that because it's someone doing his job. Bloober Team, they're looking to broaden their audience because they mainly do horror, and now they want to do action as well.
Well, there was the rumor that Bloober Team were involved in making the new Silent Hill game in 50-50 or whatever percentage it is with a prominent Japanese studio.
Yeah, that's not happening. They're not making Silent Hill apparently. They're working with a different publisher. Apparently, allegedly, not, and that's it. That's what I'm saying. That allegedly, because Konami have basically said that they're working with somebody who isn't Bloober Team on a Silent Hill game. Now, unless they're making two different Silent Hill games,
Well, there was that rumor for a while. A soft reboot and a episodic one like Until Dawn. That was the rumor.
Yeah. Because they're making one for like a Japanese audience, but they're also putting out to tender a couple of their other franchises. I think it was Castlevania and
Metal Gear.
was it Metal Gear?
Yeah.
they're putting those out for other developers to work on, and they're just
After
waiting.
after Metal Gear Survive and that Contra disaster,
Yeah,
I think that's the best thing they could do, say, for actually selling the whole entire catalogue of
yeah,
games.
put it out to other developers to see what they can do.
Like Disney did with the Star Wars license.
Yeah,
That
and
other people have a go at it.
yeah, I think what they shouldn't do is get locked into a long term contract like Disney and EA
Just on a game
did.
by game basis.
Yeah, just do it on a game by game basis, because at the end of the day, that's the only way you're going to ensure that you're getting the best out of a developer.
Yeah, there's an idea as well. There's a lot of backlash against the idea that maybe Metal Gear Solid is being done by somebody else. I find it rather tedious that people think that Metal Gear can only function with Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Hideo Kojima is an awful writer. The thing that he's good at is creating sort of mythos and creating weird characters.
Oh, but didn't you know? Quiet is, she's got to wear those skimpy clothes because that's the only way she can teleport, by exposing so much skin. Really? Really?
Yeah, Metal Gear
then
Phantom Pain was kind of the
no,
point where I went, I'm done with you, Hideo. I'm
no, no,
done.
no. If that's the case, if that's the actual truth and you believe it, then explain to me the whole shower scene.
Yeah. I paid £3 for Metal Gear Phantom Pain, $3 or $3 or whatever
You were robbed.
and I felt ripped off.
You were robbed.
Yeah, it's just not a good game.
I mean,
And honestly, if some other studio, not just giving it to anybody like they did with Metal Gear Survive, because Metal Gear Survive was awful, but to
yeah.
give it to a studio who has their head screwed on properly, they could probably make a Metal Gear Solid, which is far better than anything that Hideo Kojima made. Because, like I said, he is the single. This is a controversial opinion, I know this, but he is the single most overrated person in video game culture.
Who did Deus Ex?
The original, I can't remember.
No,
But
I mean
that,
the Human Revolution and Mankind Divided.
that was a Ubisoft subsidiary, I think.
No, it wasn't, because it was published by Square Enix, wasn't it?
All right, it was Square Enix subsidiary then. I can't remember.
It was it Crystal Dynamics or
Yes, I think it was. Yeah, and they did Tomb Raider, and they've basically shattered all over the industry with the Marvel Avengers game.
yeah. Before they shouted all over the industry with the Marvel Avengers game, I would have said let them have a try at it.
Yeah, I mean, many people would do a good job. I just don't think like holding Hideo Kojima to ransom to make something is the best for either party, really. I think let Hideo Kojima do what Hideo Kojima wants to. Just don't make movies, because his movies might be the worst in the history of the cinematic medium.
Oh, I just thought of a horrible partnership. Horrible partnership. You know where I'm going with this.
Or David Cage and Kojima.
Yeah. Making a movie together.
I wanted to end this on an upbeat note, but yeah. The industry wouldn't accept either of them on the account that they can't write anything that's just awful. And I realise that's a controversial opinion, but it's my opinion, and everybody's got opinions, and everybody has the right to verbalise them, just not aggressively and on the internet.
I've never understood why people regard Kojima as being a talented writer, because his stories are full of holes,
garbage and gibberish. But like I said, he's great at characters and he's great at mythos, but not at putting things together.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can be great at characters, you can be great at mythos. That's not a problem. But that's anybody who's good at concept work can come up with great characters and great mythos.
Yeah.
The problem is world building and stringing it all together, making it all fit together. Like
he's okay at world building. He's okay at world building, but stringing it together, he basically he has that day off work and lets the intern do it.
See, I'd say he's decent at world building, yeah, but I
But
wouldn't
stringing
say
it all
he was.
together is just really
Yeah,
vacant.
yeah. I think that Kojima's problem is he gets distracted by uh, shiny semantic things, and
No, he gets distracted by the entire industry thinking the sun shines out of his ass, so he starts believing his own hype and pulls things out of his ass too, which are ill-conceived and unfinished.
oh, you mean like the entirety of Metal Gear Solid 2?
Yeah, kinda. But anyway, this is going to get us in trouble if we go on much further. I know how much the internet likes Hideo Kojima. He is their best buy. So, was there anything else you wanted to bring up, or is that a
No,
line that we're
no,
going to
no.
draw here?
That we'll draw a line under that. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, that's it for this week of news trash. We'll be back next Monday, and Impossible Mission will also be back very soon. But until whenever that is, please do check out the Patreon, the Geek Show. No, patreon.com/the Geek Show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying to the end. I've been Rob. He's also been Rob. And we'll see you next time.
bye.